sincerity of thought that you display in pursuing these positive goals, where you can then have some say of impact on the community, not just locally but on a global level, and having the wisdom, the knowledge, and the foresight, however you want to say that, to aspire to have that is something that I think is a direct reflection of that experience that you've been through. But I also know that there's another side to it, which is the people who never want to leave, who enjoy, I don't want to call it wallowing, but who enjoy living in an environment that's filled with violence and drugs, substance abuse, misogyny, and the things that seemingly are glorified by music.
Right. Well, I think as long as you have a population that is immobile, that has been cut off from the outside world, or their ability to engage in the outside world through avenues that are just not what you're saying, the television screen, you'll have people who don't look outside their front door, don't look outside their community, won't go anywhere.
So what you're saying is this is more like a modern plantation system?
Yes, sir. I definitely agree, and that's not even just that's America to a larger degree, because there's only, I think, 20% of the population has a passport. 2% have master's degrees. I mean, I think less than 2% speak a different language. That's an American thing that we have never had to look outside of America for what we need, what we want, and so
we spend all our time just polishing the rock.
Exactly. Okay. And so I think the microcosm of that means that you have these enclaves of individuals who don't even aspire to go beyond anything that they see on a day-to-day basis.
Okay.
And I just had the privilege of being able to move around and be a little bit more mobile to see different things, and I think that broadened my perspective, and I just pursued it in that respect.
Okay, well, that's interesting. When you listen to music now, what do you enjoy when you hear it? I mean, what type of music do you enjoy?
Right now, I like rock and roll. I like alternative rock because I believe I didn't listen to that a lot when I was a kid, so it's kind of a discovery mechanism, but it's also looking at the way that these artists have utilized these instruments, utilized their voices to create these imaginary worlds or real life world. It's a fascinating thing to see that innovation in that respect, because I think hip hop, to quote Nas, is dead.
Okay.
There's no innovation.
Is it the lack of innovation, or is it the glorification of this immersion in a culture that you already think is all that?
Right. I think definitely. I think that it has basically reached a level that it's popular music. It's perpetuating whatever's popular. It's ceasing to go outside itself. It's ceasing to venture out. It's playing it safe because the dollars are there, and it's become an industry saturated with consumers.
Now, I know some years back there was a movement headed by Tipper Gore and other senior members of the black community to begin to regulate speech. That was a direct result of, I believe, Luke Skywalker and the True Live Crew. I want to say that happened in the late 80s. And I think that coincided with some other records. I believe Ice-T made a record called Cop Killer. And the impact of how easily people were swayed or readily embraced these ideas was cause for concern. And this movement was the first of many that has attempted to contain or limit the impact of hip-hop. As you mentioned earlier, when young people outside of the urban environment begin to look to it and aspire to experience it, which in reality is purely based on survival, and they already are beyond the survival point, that was a cause for concern for the community, the wider community at large. And I think that was also probably the beginning of the commercialization, because what happened is the people who controlled the music were the people who made music at that time, and they were persuaded to relinquish their control in exchange for the bling bling.
Well, I definitely think that the control of ideas in this vehicle has been captured by the fact that if you talk to a lot of artists, they don't own their masters, they don't own the rights to their music, and
Which is no different than the original rock and roll.
exactly. And I think it's just now, because hip hop is so visible, because it is on the grand stage, that it's these